Hey guys, Doc coming from what's my favorite view at the new house, this front porch. So, just wanted to let you guys see that, and I wanted to talk about what books I picked up for this week. So, I wanted you guys to get a grand vista, so I did this video in landscape rather than in portrait. I hope you guys don't mind. But let's go ahead and we'll start talking about the first book that I picked up this week, which is The Walking Dead Deluxe, issue 116. This is All Out War, part 2 of 12. We have the continuation of the war between Rick and Negan. And when they say all out war, they mean all out war. So this is written by Robert Kirkman, again with art by Charlie Adlard. It's absolutely enthralling how much drama Robert Kirkman could pull into these characters and pull out of these characters. He brought Rick and company to life in a way that is seldom ever seen. And that's why the characters are still so iconic. Just crazy iconic. And as Rick and company try to fend off Negan and try to take him out, because that's Rick's end game, is to destroy Negan so that he can't be a thorn in their side anymore. But I have to be judicious in what pages I show you, because there's some foul language from Negan and from everybody else. But you get the second part of the all-out battle between Rick's companies and the Saviors and Negan. And Negan takes no prisoners. He is a villain through and through simply because the world has created him as such. You get, later on, here's Negan, the story of Negan. And you get to understand better who he was and what brought him to this place. But for right now, all you need to know is that Negan wants to rule this world. He and the Saviors want to take everything for themselves. And they claim that they can be benevolent and that they understand where Rick and company are coming from. But I really don't know that that's the case. I don't know that Rick and company will ever be safe. So that's the first book that I picked up this week, was Walking Dead Deluxe 116. One that I'm going to do a greatest hits video on, but one that I have much more respect for and a different appreciation for after thumbing through this, is the facsimile edition of Fantastic Four issue 50. Fantastic Four issue 50 is where the Silver Surfer really comes into his own as a character. He is built up and built up and built up in the last two issues as this character who follows Galactus without remorse, without question. And in this issue, which we'll talk about more in another video, then you get to see truly how noble the Surfer is and how he becomes. Okay. Also, to be discussed at greater length in another video, is Captain America issue 1 by Chip Zdarsky, Valerio Schiti, and Frank Martin. And this is a new number 1, a new starting point for Captain America. I will say that it takes it back to a much earlier time. It's not in World War II, but it's pretty much after Cap wakes up from the ice. So we're going to get a different version of Cap. We're not going to get the superhero version of Cap, but I think we're going to get a more nuanced story with spies and counterintelligence. I'm not sure that Zdarsky can pull it off to the same level that Ed Brubaker did. Ed Brubaker's run was a masterpiece and a master class on how to write a character like that. Sure, there was politics involved, but there was also superheroics involved. And here, I'm thinking it's looking like it's going to be a different take. Cap chooses not to go with the Avengers, but instead chooses to go with the U.S. Army. So we'll talk about that more at length in the initial assessment video. All right. I was really concerned about ASM number 7 when it started off, because when J. Michael Straczynski Dan Jurgens wrote Thor, he had plenty of these, thous, merrily, verily, etc., etc. But it fit into the story. This guy, Hellgate, sounded like a walking D&D character. He really did, to begin with. And it made my head hurt, because I never played D&D as a kid or as a teenager. But at the same time, that's the kind of reason why I did not do that. It's fun to play in that world with 25-cent words, platitudes, grand gestures, things like that. But it's not nearly as fun as sitting down and watching Lord of the Rings, where you just get a small dose of it and then you can continue on with your life. But I will say that once the story got moving and you came to understand that this was not just going to be another Moreland beatdown of Spider-Man, Joe Kelly and John Romita Jr. shined. They really did. They brought gravitas to this new character. They brought still a mystery of where he came from and why he has sought out Spider-Man. But at least you have a mystery that seems like it's worth studying, rather than looking at broader strokes and saying, this is the worst beatdown that Spider-Man's ever going to get. This one seems to have weight to it. The Zeb Wells Tombstone fight at the beginning and at the end of his run, it was fun to watch Spidey beat up on Tombstone and Tombstone beat the heck out of Spidey. But it didn't have lasting effects. Normally when you write a street-level Spider-Man, it's going to have lasting effects for Peter and all of his company and MJ and Aunt May and not so much Harry Osborn, but now Norman Osborn. And back in the day, it would have conflicted with Liz Osborn, Little Normie, all of these different characters. But at the end of Wells' run, there were really no consequences. Here, it looks like this fight with Hellgate is going to be a tough one for Spider-Man to come through successfully, but it also seems like it's going to have some lasting repercussions and some weight behind it. So I can't really wait, no pun intended, to dig into the rest of this storyline and see whether or not Hellgate is a worthy opponent for old Peter Parker. All right. And the last book, it was a slow week this week, guys, so don't judge me for this video being a little shorter than most of the rest of them. But here we got Minor Arcana, issue number 8. And this is by Jeff Lemire and Catanici. So we get to see somebody's art other than Jeff Lemire's in this title. But the more that I read of this title, the more interesting it becomes. Now we have the grand reopening of Teresa's mother's psychic house, we'll call it. You know, House of Cleo, if you prefer, if you grew up in a certain age. But there's much more interesting things afoot. There's a character in black that shows up, and we don't know who he's spying on Teresa for just yet, but I have an idea that it's not going to be because they want, free candy. I have a feeling that it's going to be something much more sinister. But she got a chance to give somebody who was looking for answers the answers that they sought. I'm going to leave it at that and say that somebody came to her in their time of need, and she read their cards and gave them the peace of mind and the peace of spirit that they wanted and so desperately needed. So this book, more so than Phantom Road, more so than Absolute Flash, more so than the other books that Jeff Lemire is writing at the moment, seems to be going somewhere where it's got, again, consequences. And there's reality and there's weight to this world. So I can't tell you how much I enjoy this book, how much each issue brings me closer and closer to this story and to these characters. So that is the pile for this week, guys. And like I said, it was a relatively short pile, but I told you that it was going to start being shorter and shorter. But this is my peaceful space, guys. This is the space that when we finally get moved into the new house permanently, this will be one of my writing spaces. One of my spaces to come out here and talk to you guys, not only in the comic room, but also out here, where it's peaceful. A lot of people rush and go through their day, and they can't seem to find peace, can't seem to find balance. And I'm not going to get philosophical or psychological on you guys, but just take time to take a breath. Tell those that you love that you appreciate them and what they do for you each and every day. I read an article on Substack earlier that let me know that people out there deal with so many things in silence. And at the end of the day, you've got to let those people know that they're appreciated and they're loved. You always have to tell somebody how important they are to you, because you don't know the next time that you'll get the opportunity to tell them. But in the meantime, just enjoy your life. Take it one step at a time. Enjoy your comics. Enjoy your movies. Enjoy your music. And help build all of those things together and create a happy life. Anyway, guys, that's enough soapboxing for me for today. But I hope that you've enjoyed this video. I hope you've enjoyed this look at this new space, this new writing space, this new reading space, and this new presentation space. So take care of yourself, guys. Have a wonderful Wednesday. I hope that you get all the books that you want at the shop. Hope you found everything that was on your pull list. And have a great rest of the week, guys. We're coming up on the 4th of July. Make sure that you get ready to make plans with your family so that you guys can grill out, kick back, and enjoy some downtime so that you don't have to worry about work, and hopefully don't have to worry about work or any kind of outside stressors. But instead, you just get to spend time with your family. Anyway, guys, this is Doc out. Y'all enjoy the rest of your Wednesday, and we'll catch you next go around.